We've all felt it, haven't you? That subtle unease, maybe a sense of unseen pressure or, the sting of someone's ill will. Those moments when external challenges just seem, beyond our control. Today, we're diving deep into a kind of a spiritual toolkit for navigating those very real human experiences.
Hmm.
Our journey takes us to Surah Al-Falaq. That's chapter 113 of the Quran, often known as the daybreak.
A beautiful name for it.
It really is. Our insights for this deep dive, they come from detailed commentaries, analyses by scholars like Numan Ali Khan, Muhammad al-Naqi, basically drawing from various deep explorations of the Quranic text.
Right. And our mission today really is to unpack the profound protection this short chapter offers. We want to explore its powerful historical context, look at the linguistic marvels, and ultimately discover how it provides a very practical shield.
A shield against those unsettling, unseen dangers in our lives.
Exactly.
Now, to really get Al-Falaq, you have to understand its connection with its sister Surah An-Nas, right?
Absolutely. They form this potent pair. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, actually called them al-Muawwidatain, the two chapters of seeking refuge. He really highlighted their incomparable nature, their unique power in protecting us.
And it wasn't just theory, was it? He used them himself.
Oh, very much so. What's really compelling is how personally he used them. Like when he was unwell, the accounts say he would recite them into his cupped hands, blow into them, and then rub his hands over his body for healing.
Wow.
And he also made it a nightly ritual before sleep, reciting Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and Anas, blowing into his hands and rubbing them over his face and as much of his body as he could reach.
So it's a direct example, a practical application.
Precisely. It shows their importance right from the highest example.
Okay, so they're companions, these two surahs, but they tackle different things. How does Al-Falaq specifically focus on these external evils, the ones originating outside us?
That's a really vital distinction. Al-Falaq is zeroed in on evils that are entirely beyond our control, things we are victimized by, essentially.
Things happening to us.
Exactly. And if you contrast that with Surah An-Nas, well, An-Nas deals more with the internal stuff, struggles, temptations, whisperings from within, things that are more within our control and things we're accountable for.
Okay, that makes sense. Al-Falaq for the outside, Anas for the inside, broadly speaking.
That's a good way to put it. It helps frame Al-Falaq's specific job, shielding us from external threats.
And the history behind this is, well, it's pretty intense, isn't it? What was going on when these were revealed?
It is intense. The vast majority of scholars, they believe both surahs, Al-Falaq and An-Nas, were revealed together simultaneously in Medina,
What about?
probably around the 6th or 7th year after Hijrah. And it was to specifically address a really severe affliction, physical and psychological, that the Prophet Muhammad himself was suffering.
Okay, you have to tell us about that incident. It sounds serious.
It really was. Apparently, a Jewish magician, his name was Labid bin al-Asam, he was hired by opponents of the Prophet, and he somehow got hold of a comb and some hair from the Prophet through a servant boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then he performed sorcery, he tied 11 knots, used a doll with needles, this whole contraption, and he hid it in a well in Medina, the Darwan well.
And the effect on the Prophet?
It was significant distress. Reports mention physical agitation, sleep loss, memory problems, a feeling of being really heavily burdened, like squeezed from within.
That sounds awful. How was it resolved?
Well, through a dream, two angels appeared and revealed everything, the nature of the magic, who did it, and exactly where it was hidden.
Incredible.
So the Prophet sent companions, Ali ibn Abi Talib and others, to retrieve the item from the well, and then he himself untied each of the 11 knots while reciting each of the 11 verses of Al-Falaq and Anas. One verse per knot.
And the relief.
Must have been immense. It was described like coming out of darkness into light. Just profound relief.
That historical context is just so powerful. It really grounds the surah in a real event.
It really does. And, while most scholars believe the surahs were revealed right then, some discuss the possibility they were already known, and the angels simply reminded the Prophet to use them as the specific remedy.
Which speaks to the depth of scholarship, doesn't it? They consider these nuances.
Exactly. It shows the intellectual honesty. And speaking of honesty, it's worth mentioning briefly that there was this minority view from Ibn Masud, a prominent companion.
Right, I've heard about this.
He initially thought maybe these were just prayers, remedies, not strictly part of the Quranic text itself, but
But the consensus is overwhelmingly against that.
Overwhelmingly. The evidence is just too strong, the Prophet reciting them in formal prayer, where only Quran is recited, for example. For us, the takeaway isn't the doubt, but the fact that even this minority view was recorded and discussed. It actually reinforces our certainty in the meticulous preservation of the Quran.
It strengthens our reliance on Al-Falaq as divinely revealed protection.
Precisely. So let's dig into the language itself. The words carry so much weight. Starting with, Awudu, I seek refuge. What's really packed into that?
Yeah, sounds simple. I seek refuge. But you're saying there's more to it.
Oh, much more. It's not just asking for shelter. The deeper sense is to cling to someone for protection, specifically from dangers you can't see, unseen dangers.
Clinging. That implies a real sense of need, of vulnerability.
It does. It's an act of submission, really. You're declaring, I can't protect myself from this. You're consciously entering fully into Allah's protection. It connects directly to Allah being as-Samad.
The self-sufficient master whom all creatures need.
Exactly. The one everyone needs, but who needs no one. This surah is like a practical application of that need. It's admitting our reliance.
Okay, and the name itself, Al-Falaq, the daybreak. What's captured in that word? Is it just about the morning?
Well, falaq literally means something like to rip open something where something else emerges.
Rip open.
If
Like how?
Think about it. Morning light ripping through the darkness. That's falaq. A seed ripping open the soil to sprout. That's falaq. Water bursting from a spring, rain from clouds, even a baby emerging from the womb.
Wow, so it's about emergence, creation, birth.
Exactly. Allah is the master of birth, the one who brings forth life and light, often from darkness or constriction. And think back to Surah Al-Ikhlas, right before this one.
Where it says Allah neither begets nor is born.
Right. So Al-Ikhlas establishes Allah is beyond birth, and Al-Falaq immediately follows, showing he owns and masters the entire process of birth and creation for everything else. It's a beautiful sequence.
And psychologically, that idea of ripping open, what does that mean for us when we're feeling, stuck or pressured?
It represents ripping through that very constriction, that difficulty. It promises openness, relief. The imagery of light tearing through darkness is so central, especially when you consider the dark tinge of the evils the surah mentions later.
Light versus darkness. Refuge versus threat.
Precisely. But there's another layer to falaq, quite a sobering one. Some interpretations also link falaq to a specific place or concept in the afterlife, like a gate in hellfire or a prison for the arrogant. It shows that the same source of refuge, the master of daybreak, is also the source of absolute justice against those who perpetrate evil.
So he's both the protector and the one who holds creators of harm accountable. That's comprehensive.
It makes him the perfect guardian, doesn't it? Refuge and justice combined.
Then there's the command, qual, say. Why start with that? Why the command to actually say it?
It's really significant. It's not just a suggestion. It's a direct command from Allah. Say, I seek refuge. You have to openly declare your weakness, your need.
So it's about humility.
Yeah.
Killing the ego.
Exactly. It cuts through any false sense of self-reliance. You can't truly seek refuge if you secretly think you've got it covered yourself. Saying it ensures sincerity. And it's an act of obedience. You're doing what Allah commanded, which is, well, kind of prerequisite for receiving his protection.
It's an active step, a declaration of dependence.
Recite.
Okay, and the last key term, shar. Evil or harm. How is that concept presented here?
Shar is generally understood as universal harm. Like a spark, everyone knows it can burn you. It's obvious harm.
Okay.
But notice the phrasing. From the evil of what he created. That's crucial. It affirms Allah's ultimate power. Even things that can cause harm are part of his creation under his control.
It's not some independent force of evil.
No. And philosophically, some scholars view evil not as a thing in itself, but as the absence of good. Like darkness is just the absence of light.
That's an interesting way to think about it. It changes how you see it.
It does. It means when you seek refuge with Al-Falaq, you're not just fighting off some negative thing, you're actively inviting Allah's goodness, his light, to fill that space and dispel the darkness, the shar.
Okay, so we have these core concepts. Now, the surah lists specific evils. It seems to move from general to specific.
Exactly. There are 4 distinct layers of protection laid out. It starts broad. From the evil of what he created. Min shar mi ma khalaq.
What does that cover?
Pretty much everything. It's the widest possible scope. Think about it. The sun gives life, but sunburn or heat stroke, that's harm. Water is essential, but floods, drowning, harm. A car is useful, but accidents, harm.
So even good things have potential for shar.
Right. It acknowledges that anything in creation has a potential harmful aspect, especially aspects beyond our perception or control. We seek refuge from all of it.
And it narrows down.
Yes, the second layer, and from the evil of darkness when it settles, wamin shari gasikini hawakab. This zooms in on the specific dangers associated with nightfall.
Why night specifically?
Well, historically and even practically, darkness is when certain evils tend to spread. Things are hidden. Visibility is low. It's often when people feel more vulnerable. It can also refer to unseen beings like jinn or shaitan, who are sometimes associated more with the night.
There's also that cultural association of darkness with danger. Even the word lunatic relates to the moon, the night.
Exactly. There are those associations. It's a caution, perhaps, against the vulnerabilities that deep night can bring.
Okay, layer 3 gets even more specific.
Very specific. And from the evil of the blowers and the knots, wa min shurin nafathati fil uqad.
The blowers and the knots, that sounds like.
Sorcery. Magic. It's a direct reference to magicians, often women in that context historically, who performed rituals involving literally blowing on knots to enact curses or spells.
And this connects back to the story of Labid bin al-Assam.
Directly. It's astonishing, really. This verse revealed the specific secret methodology being used against the prophet himself. It exposed their ritual. The precision is miraculous.
Incredible. And the final layer.
The fourth layer brings it home to a very human, very pervasive evil. And from the evil of an envier when he envies, وَمِنْ شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدَ.
Jealousy or envy.
Yes. And it's presented almost as the root, the source from which many other external harms might spring. Notice it says when he envies, إِذَا حَسَدَ, not if he envies.
What's the significance of when versus if?
It implies that true, deep-seated envy inevitably manifests. It doesn't just stay inside. It leads to action, often harmful action, whether it's backbiting, plotting, or even unseen harms like the evil eye.
And that kind of destructive envy. It's sadly common, isn't it? Even close to home.
Unfortunately, yes. It can poison families, communities, workplaces. It's a powerful, destructive force we need protection from.
It's quite a progression. All creation, darkness, sorcery, and finally, envy.
A very eloquent sequence.
Now, to help visualize all this, you mentioned a parable from Muhammad Qasim the Nat.
Yes, it's a beautiful analogy. He compares seeking refuge with Al-Falaq to a gardener protecting a precious plant.
Okay, how does that work?
So, imagine your plant. First, you've got animals, maybe a goat, that might just wander by and start grazing on the leaves. They aren't malicious, they're just acting out their nature. That's like the general harm from creation, min shari ma khalaq.
Right. Things just doing what they do, but it harms the plant.
Exactly. Then maybe something blocks the plant's sun or its access to water. An obstruction. That's like the darkness when it settles. Gasikina hawakab, blocking necessary good.
Okay, makes sense.
Then imagine the plant gets overwhelmed by something external buried under heavy snow, or maybe flooded by too much water. It's being suffocated, pressured from outside. That reflects the feeling of magic, that oppressive burden.
Like the knots being tied, perhaps.
Could be seen that way. And finally, you have a direct enemy, someone who actively wants to destroy that specific plant. They come with ill intent.
That sounds like the sorcerer and the envier.
Precisely. Nafathati fil uqad and hasidin iha hasad. Direct malicious intent.
That parable really ties it all together nicely. It shows how Al-Falaq covers these different kinds of physical or external threats, as opposed to the internal spiritual ones Anas deals with.
It frames it very clearly.
Let's circle back to jealousy, though. It's identified as this root problem. We see its destructive side. You mentioned inter-mosque lawsuits, sadly.
Yes, those are painful examples of how destructive it can be within communities. But it's crucial to also mention the positive side. What's sometimes translated as jealousy can actually mean positive aspiration or healthy competition. Well, the Prophet himself, peace be upon him, pointed out two kinds of envy that are actually praiseworthy. First, seeing a person whom Allah has given wealth and who spends it exhaustively in the way of truth. You should aspire to have that generous attitude, that commitment.
So you envy their action, their state, not their money itself.
Exactly. And second, seeing a person whom Allah has given wisdom, hikmah, and they judge by it and teach it to others, you should aspire to be like that, to apply knowledge practically and share wisdom.
That's a really important distinction. Aspiring to good qualities versus destructive envy of possessions or status.
A huge difference. One builds up, the other tears down.
So bringing this all together.
Yeah.
When we face hostility, animosity may be fueled by that negative envy. How does Surah Al-Falaq, as part of this spiritual toolkit, guide our response? It protects us, yes, but how should we act?
That's a great question. The Surah itself is the shield against the harm, but the broader teachings connected to it guide our response. Allah's counsel often points towards patience, sabr, overlooking provocation sometimes, focusing on our own purpose, our own mission, until Allah's plan unfolds.
So not necessarily reacting emotionally.
Often, yes. Emotional knee-jerk reactions can sometimes play right into the hands of those who wish us ill. They might want that reaction. Al-Falaq gives us the protection, allowing us the space to respond with wisdom, not just anger.
So instead of just lashing out,
Maybe it means pursuing measured action, like legal means if appropriate, or maybe it means strategic patience. But the core idea is turning to Allah for protection first, through Al-Falaq, rather than letting the external provocation dictate our response entirely. It keeps us grounded.
grounded in the knowledge that ultimately our protector is the one who brings forth the dawn.
Exactly. Despite any external animosity, we have Allah, the master of Falaq, the one who rips through darkness and brings light on our side. That should be our ultimate confidence.
So we set out on this deep dive to really understand Surah Al-Falaq's protection. Protection against those unseen external harms from, the natural world right through to deliberate, malicious human actions like sorcery and envy.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. In a world that feels like it's overflowing with information, noise, perceived threats everywhere, what does it truly mean to stand up and declare your weakness, your need, to the master of all creation?
How might that single act of humility of saying, Qul a'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq, say, I seek refuge in the Lord of the daybreak, how might that fundamentally change your whole approach to fear, to adversity?
It's something profound to reflect on.
Definitely. We encourage you as you go about your day to think about your own vulnerabilities, the things that cause you unease, and to actively incorporate the protection of Surah Al-Falaq into your life. Remember that sometimes, maybe often, true strength is found not in self-reliance, but in that humble reliance on the divine.